to the Netherlands and we will hear about their innovation system. Chief Inspiration Officer for TKI Agri and Foods, Mr. Kees de Gooijer. Please welcome up on stage.
Thank you. And it's quite scary to be here, knowing that it is only me standing between you and the lunch. But I will be talking about food, so please stay with me. The title is Changing the Game of the Knowledge Train. We did it a bit different than the Brits did, and I will be talking about it. My name is Kees de Gooijer, as exceptionally well pronounced by Mia, and I'm the Chief Inspiration Officer for the top consortia for innovation of the sectors agriculture and food and the bio-based economy. I had the privilege of giving me my own title, that's why. What did we do? Food Nutrition Delta was a part of the innovation program for food and nutrition. Food and nutrition is important in my country, as you know. And the second bullet actually is a take-homer. It was from companies, for companies, and with companies. We had an independent foundation installed called Food Nutrition Delta that ran the program. So the minister was here, I don't know if he's still around, but if I hear a minister say, I want a shared vision, I know that the people working in the ministry will think, aha, everybody else is going to adapt to our vision. So that's the topic to discuss, I think. We got the money from the Ministry of Economic Affairs, obviously, and we also had a lot of work with the Ministries of Agriculture and Food Quality and the Ministry of Public Health. Why? Well, as you all know probably, food is the #1 sector in the Netherlands, 25% of the total export by now, and 10% of GDP. A lot of jobs, and then you can add the machinery people, the packaging people, etc., etc. So the economy is important. But basically in our government, nobody really cared about that. The second driver was much more important, that was health. These are some bad and nasty diseases that you can get from a wrong diet. And I managed to find the number that we spend annually to fight these diseases in the Netherlands alone. That's close to 5 billion euros each year. And I had the privilege to present it to our Prime Minister, so I looked him in the eyes and said, how much would you like to save on that spending? Is it 10, 15, maybe 20%? Key message, any investment in better food is paying off. Fine example, just to entertain you a bit, obesity. These are Americans. Actually, if you look closely, it's 2 women and 1 man. And you could also, picture it like this. This is the David from Michelangelo from Firenze in Italy. That was lent out to the United States, and after 2 years it came back and it looked quite different. And the US is in really bad shape. This is the latest data set I have, 2013. This is the US. You can see 2 states actually having more than 35% obese people. Obese is clinically ill. It's not overweight. I have a little bit overweight, but obese is clinically ill. So they are going to ruin themselves. And you know, they're 10 years ahead of Europe. So this will all come to us in a couple of years. Why should the businesses bother, the large companies or the small and medium enterprises? Well, it's a plethora of possibilities to make new products. New products bring more money. It's that easy, really. How did we do it? We started back in 2003 with 10 independent thinkers with the question, what do we need to do to be in good shape in 2020? We are now getting there, and despite the crisis, the industry has kept a very nice growth rate of around 3% all those years. We started by the analysis of consumer needs. It's like quoting the minister this morning. Then we derive a strategic research program, also known as the Knowledge Push, and we derived at the same time an innovation program, also known as a market pull package. To start with the building, this is actually all the consumer wants. It's that simple, and I think it's still valid. For nutrition and health, you want to be in good shape, you want to be resistant to diseases, you want to feel good, have a good quality of life if you're getting old. Kids should be healthy and you don't want to get chronically ill. For structure, even better, it should taste good always. It should have a good texture and it should be convenient. And for safety, no discussion about that. And for consumer behavior, how do we get the people to move into better consumption patterns? If I take out one, because if I look at the audience, this holds for, I think, 70% of you, you grow older. And that means a lot. But what does it mean? We tested if the products, and that's similar to what the UK did, are more than 1 billion euros in the world market and have a good growth. And then we define the underlying needs. Be aware, this is important. Your mental performance will go down, ladies and gentlemen. Your bones will break, your taste will go down, your muscles will go down, and you will start sleeping really very badly. For the youngsters under you, this all begins at the age of 40. Going from that, you define functional targets, and going from that, you define scientific targets, and going from that, you get your research program. So there will be a PhD student working in the blue with the question, what is the effect of the cell elasticity in the midgut of an elderly woman on her health? And that can still be linked to a product in the market. The funnel. You can put the technology readiness levels of Kees above that. This is this program for fundamental research, and this is the delta coming there, and then the European state aid law forbid us to invest there. Maybe a regional development agency can do something there. So the time frames are different. Fundamental research, we aim at 5 to 10 years. We are an optimistic bunch of people. Close to twice as much as the Swedes, actually. In numbers, that is, not in optimistic feeling. And there's the business opportunity-driven time frame from 1 to 4 years. Let's do it again. This is the linear model the minister was talking about. And we grew up with that. So there's the knowledge push and there's the market pull. Luckily, we had quite a bunch of large, really large companies in the Netherlands. And we had them define the long-term vision. And long-term is 20 years. Politics will define 4. So if he says we're going to do it for 10, that is very brave, but not enough. Science can do it 4, maybe 8, 2 PhDs, that's it. So we asked it to them. And then the short-time dynamics, that's the SMEs. They see the opportunities in the market much quicker than the large companies, and they will move in very, very quickly. Daily life, however, is a kind like this. Who is going to decide to stop a research line at a university? You need a totally independent entity to do that. And then you should buy in from other sectors, you should buy in from other countries, you could export things that are not particularly suited for your settings to other countries, and so forth and so forth. So this is my daily life. Well, the instruments are boring. Vinnova knows pretty well how to do that. We have vouchers, we have feasibility studies. This is quick because we're hungry. We did specific projects for SMEs and we did innovation projects. The board, it should be trustworthy what you are doing. My board consisted for over 50% of companies, and of those companies, over 50% were SMEs. Why? Because we had an SME focus, that's why. And what I did every day, you talk and you travel. The triple helix depicted differently, and this is how a normal week would look like. But if you look well, you start at the business side and you end at the business side. If you lose that focus, then you're lost in space and you're basically wasting taxpayers' money. We introduced also brokers, innovation brokers as we call them, to help SMEs start getting into that innovation cycle. They could define the business case, they could bring parties together and build a consortium, and we offered them for free. And if you look at those guys, except for the middle one in the top, he was a younger guy, but he worked 25 hours a day. All the others have like 30, 35 years experience in their specific area for which we hired them. Did it work? Yes, it did. These are the data from the midterm review that we had. 25 companies reported almost 250 new jobs. And that's 25 companies out of the 200 that we were working with at that time. We ended up close to 500 companies. And the numbers of partners per projects, I hear about clusters. My firm belief is clusters don't work. If you move in the TRL lines, you're getting closer and closer to the competitive edge of the business side. If it's a highly competitive sector like the food sector, then you do 2 or 3 partners per project, Keith, not 25. That will never fly. So my lessons learned, 3 words are the key, and both words are trust, trust, and trust. You have to be trustworthy, otherwise you will not be able to talk to the SMEs. Come with the vision and come with the plan, and please define the endpoints. If you don't have endpoints where you're working to, it will never fly, and it will be difficult. Co-create, dare to laugh, because eventually we are talking about food here, which is pleasure. I always like to be invited by VINNOVA. I'm a wine lover, so I thought there would be VINNOVA, new wine, so great. Be transparent about what you do, open calls and crisp procedures that are traceable. Get your brokers in place and organize it independent with the SMEs in the lead. I mean, truly in the lead. And then find a guy who's trustworthy to the triple helix partners. Travel, talk, and be aware that your only constant is the change itself. And then, finalizing up, I think we should stop thinking outside the box. There's nothing wrong with thinking inside the box, as long as you find a good partner to think with you together. That was my speech, I think, and have a nice day. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much for this presentation, Kees.
You're welcome.
I don't know if we can promise you any new wine for lunch. Normally, we don't have wine for lunch in Sweden, but maybe we will see. Now, you gave us some lessons learned. It's about, well, not least to have fun. Trust is very important. What have been the challenges on this journey, the biggest challenges for you?
The biggest one, if you start aiming at SMEs that live on a mobile phone, trying to run their daily business, and you want them to start innovation projects, it is reaching out to them and really getting their trust. What I didn't do is install a big bureau. It was me and my secretary. So a funny title, an innovative title. My secretary was called Spider-Woman.
Spider-Woman.
Spider-Woman. So if you get a Google, you please go Google Spider-Woman, you get very funny pictures and people will mail that to you, and then you can phone them, start a conversation, because it's innovative. You have to breathe and be innovative. I didn't make glossy folders. I made a letter stating that I didn't have time to make a glossy folder, and the receiver wouldn't have time to read the glossy folder. So I sent them a beer glass bottom thingy that you can find in the pub, with the key statements on the one and the plan for the next year on the other side. And that was shipped 5,000 times.
So that was how you got their commitment?
That's how you get, that they start to believe that you really mean business.
When
so
your title is Spider-Woman.
Do it differently. No, that was my secretary.
No,
you should pay attention, Mia.
Yes,
here.
you're a chief innovation.
Yes, I would be
officer.
Spider-Man, but that's the bit, look at the, it's impossible.
So, okay, so that's the way to do it. You have to cut out the unnecessary parts and just focus on.
Yes, focus.
When you heard the discussion with the minister, are there things that you think is very much like in your country, or big differences?
No, it's very similar. Yeah, if you go to the US, they will probably say that the Netherlands is part of Scandinavia, actually. No, that was very similar. The only worrying part is, does he has the guts to give the control away to an independent entity? Because that was crucial for the success, I think.
So they have to give the power to...
Yep.
And that's very hard for...
Usually that's very hard for a ministry or a minister. Yep.
So what do you think? We will have the answer in a couple of years' time, but your guess?
You know what he said. It will be there and delivered within 1 year.
Within 1 year.
To Sweden. That's what he told us, didn't he?
So big expectations.
I hope so.
Now, Kees, you will be back this afternoon to comment on what you've heard during the afternoon. Thank you very much, and enjoy lunch.
Thank you. Bye-bye.